Good evening, folks. We've got quite a crowd here tonight. It's wonderful to see all of the new members coming in. My name's John McNeill. I was chairman during the pandemic period and managed to help with the committee, the board, to get us through that rather difficult time period. And tonight, I've got the honour of presenting our speaker for tonight. Greg Alder of the Yard Post will be joining us to share what he has learned about dealing with various birds, mammals, and insects that can be pests to our fruit trees. Greg is a master gardener with the University of California Cooperative Extension, director of California Avocado Society, and creator of the Yard Post, a website aimed at helping gardeners in Southern California to grow food at home. He started gardening 20 years ago when he lived in Lesotho.
Lesotho.
So one of the privileged guys that's been out of the country and learnt different cultures. He currently lives in Ramona, San Diego County, where he provides his wife and 3 kids with most of their fruit and vegetables and all of their avocados. And tonight he's bought a whole stack of avocados, gem, I believe, so that we can take and enjoy. Although many critters compete with us for the fruit from our trees, we need not feel intimidated or overwhelmed. This is mostly because smart people have already figured out how to deal with most pests. Greg will share specific examples, techniques, products, and stories. So hopefully we are all more confident in meeting our pest challenges. Tell me about it. I got squirrels and rats and raccoons and God knows what else. So I've gone to bagging my fruit with aluminum mesh bags. So anyway, so the main pests you will cover, as I said, include gophers, squirrels, raccoons, possums, bats, birds, and various bugs. So if you give a warm hand of appreciation, and welcome to Greg.
I think I think as I go through things pest by pest, I'll let you guys ask a question if you have one about that specific pest, and then we'll move on to the next one. We'll do it like that. There we go. All right. So I'll spend 2 minutes giving you some context for the rest of the talk, just by way of introduction and given a little bit about my experience and where I grow now and where I have and my style. Because growing fruit and gardening and stuff, it's a personal thing. We don't all do it the same, right? So I actually grew up in LA County. I went down to San Diego for college. Then I went over to Africa. I was a Peace Corps teacher, and that was the first place I gardened. I had no interest until then, and then I got into it there. It wasn't a gardening thing. It was just like I had to grow my food. There were no grocery stores where I lived, so I had to do it. But then I thought it was really interesting and fun. So I came back and I lived really close to the ocean for most of my time down in San Diego, but now I'm inland in Ramona, which is about 20 miles from the ocean in the foothills. It's plenty hot and dry, and I have about 1 acre, and I've got a wife and 3 kids to feed, and that affects my growing style because I want the kids to be able to eat anything at any time from the time they're crawling on up. And so I simply don't use any, poisons, no pesticides, no herbicides, no nothing. I have to figure out a different way to do things. And so I might know a little bit about those kinds of products, but I don't really have any firsthand experience with them. That's my style. That's my context. Okay, so we'll go big pests to little pests. And first, I don't know if you can see. Oh, there we go. Okay, so oh, that's actually a baby possum in my peach tree some years ago. And I think he's kind of cute, but so possums, raccoons, skunks, I don't really find, you tell me if you agree, but I don't really find them a big pest. I don't need to deal with them, frankly. They'll chew on some things here and there, but I don't really do anything with them. Now they'll dig up my vegetables, searching for grubs, that kind of thing. But for my fruit trees, I don't find that they're worth worrying about. So, and I hear that they eat snails too, which is a nice thing. So I don't try to discourage them from the yard. Gophers, on the other hand, are a big problem, and that's a big gopher. That's my son who really loves to catch gophers. I find that gophers like the roots of bananas and figs and avocados the most. Anybody lost a banana or a fig or an avocado to a gopher? A mango? Okay, nice. Okay. I've lost mangoes, but I haven't lost one to a gopher. Long end too? Okay. Yeah, they like long ends? Okay, nice. All right. Anyway, you got to do something about gophers, right? You can use baskets. I personally don't use baskets, but I know people who do, and they find that they work as long as you do it the right way. You can't bury them. You got to leave a good couple inches of lip above the ground, because gophers do crawl around at night above the surface, and they'll easily go over the basket. This is a mature avocado tree that was planted in a basket, and it's doing just fine. And this photo was actually taken a couple years ago. It's probably 5 feet bigger now, and it's doing just great now. I was skeptical about gopher baskets at first. I thought, aren't they going to girdle the roots? And but I've seen enough evidence now, big trees growing planted in gopher baskets, and they do just fine. You can buy different ones. You can buy ones that are sort of 5-gallon-ish size and 15-gallon-ish size. You can buy them in different sizes for different size trees that you're planting. Yeah, I think this one here is more of like a smaller one, that basket there. Yeah. Yep. Apparently not. A gopher can't fit through that size mesh. Yeah. Now it can munch the roots all outside of it, right? But trees seem to be able to handle that, Okay, interesting. Yeah. Okay. That's interesting. Yeah. Well, Ty, right? Ty said that he grew a longan in a gopher basket. The gopher baskets in general, they're built to ultimately break. The idea is you plant the small tree in the basket, and it just gives it a chance to grow big enough without the gopher munching, with the protection of the basket, so that once it's grown well outside of the basket and the gopher basket material mesh is breaking down, the tree is big enough to handle some gopher damage. But Ty said that his long end hadn't grown big enough to be able to handle the gopher damage by the time the gopher basket had started breaking down and a gopher could get in and munch the roots. Interesting. So I guess in that case, for long ends, you need to do something else. Or here's what I do. This is what I do personally. I just trap. I've got about, I don't know, I've got an acre. I'm growing on around a half acre, and I've got 4 cinch traps, and they're in the ground as much as possible, all the time. If I see a mound anywhere, I'm trapping immediately, and I really don't lose anything anymore because these things are effective, and I'm able to be on the ball with them. Sorry. What I like about these traps in particular is that you don't need a shovel. You don't need to dig a big hole to set them. You just find a little mound and you take like a hori knife or something, and you just locate the tunnel that's coming up that made that mound, and you just open it out. You just open the end of it, and then you stick it's a pincher trap. You stick it in the mouth of the hole, and it's a kill trap. So it just squeezes them to death instantly, usually instantly. You can buy them online at, I think it's cinchtrap.com or something. Yeah. They're made up in Oregon. Yeah. And I just have a bucket with my cinch traps ready at all times. And I've still got gophers, but I catch them pretty quickly, such that I don't lose trees anymore. I hate to say that because I know now I'm going to go home and I'm going to have lost a tree, but I haven't lost a tree for many years now. I should say it that way. Yes. No bait. No, I don't use anything, and I don't try to cover the hole in any way. It's really simple. You see a mound, a fresh mound. I take my hori knife and I open it up. I locate the tunnel, within that mound. I open it up. I put the trap in. I put a flag there just so I can remember where the trap is. I walk away. That's it. There's nothing else to it. No bait, no trying to keep it dark. Yeah, because what Dawn said, the idea is, here's what a gopher does. A gopher's digging a tunnel. It's excavating and creating that mound, and it plugs that hole. And so it expects the end of that tunnel to be dark. But gophers are always going around checking their tunnels for anyone entering, trying to surprise them. And it sees light and it goes, oh no, I better go plug that. And it goes up to go plug it, and it gets pinched. Yes. Yeah, that's a good question. I haven't had any other animals that I don't want to get hurt by these traps. My cats are really interested in them because they love to eat gophers, and they know that I'm setting a gopher trap, and they know the sound that the metal makes when I set the gopher trap and everything. So they're always hanging out with me, and they're always sniffing the trap and everything. And I'm always worried they're going to set it off and pinch their nose. But it's been years now and they never have. I have accidentally caught a squirrel in one of these traps, a young squirrel trying to go in through the outdoor kind of thing in it. But that's the only other thing I've caught besides a gopher. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. With my kids, I just, the kids know the traps. And so I've just been really careful about, teaching the kids, this will pinch your finger off. Don't touch this. This is a gopher trap. Yeah. I don't use gopher hawks, but I know people who swear by gopher hawks. They really like this trap also. So as far as I know, people who are like professionals and people who really trap gophers, they pretty much go two ways. They go cinch traps or gopher hawks. Some people still use the Maccabee traps and some of the others, but most people I know who are really experienced, they either go cinch trap or gopher hawk. Oh, yeah. You know, that's a good question. I'm glad you asked that because the question is, how do you release the dead gopher from the trap after you've caught it? That brings up the only downside of cinch traps, which I should have mentioned. The only downside is they take some strength to set because it's a pretty strong spring. And so you sort of learn the technique of setting them. And then however, releasing the gopher once you've caught it is easier than setting the trap. So what you essentially do is you take this little lever there and you just open it up and the gopher drops out. Yeah. Yeah. What he said was he uses both cinch traps and gopher hawks, and he finds gopher hawks easier to do in the winter when the soil is wet and it's easier to set that trap. Whereas when the soil gets dry, it gets a lot harder to dig, and it's easier to set cinch traps. Yeah, that makes sense. All right. I just want to note that there are some predators of gophers that we can encourage, and owls. You can encourage owls, build an owl box. They'll eat a certain number of gophers. They're not gonna protect your whole property from gophers, but they'll do some. And cats for sure. I've personally got some great outdoor cats that eat a lot of gophers. And what I actually do when I catch a gopher is the cats come running because they hear the metal, and I give them the kill. They love it. I've got a video here. I'm not sure if it's gonna work though. Doesn't look like it's gonna. Anyway, I had a cool video of my cat catching a gopher. Oh, there it is. But it doesn't look like it's a video. I guess it's just sorry. Anyway, that cat right there caught a gopher, and it was really cool to watch. You'll just have to trust me on it. I've been lucky enough to see them hunt and catch gophers a couple times. It's just so cool. It feels like, watching a little lion hunt its prey. It's so cool. Anyway, rabbits. Rabbits can do quite a bit of damage, especially to your lettuce, right? To fruit trees, they mostly chew the bark on young trees. Have you found that? Do you guys have many cottontails chewing the bark and stuff? Yeah, that's a real bummer. They'll even eat off the lower leaves, especially avocados and citrus for me. But what else? They chew on a lot of things. I think the best thing to do for those cases is just I put little poultry wire cages around the young trees. It only needs to be a foot high, and the rabbits can't get at them. Or you can just put any kind of like thick paper barrier. It can be a wax paper guard or a plastic or a cardboard, and that saves your trees from the rabbits. Yeah, those plastic spiral ones. Yep. Works great. It does become habitat for earwigs and stuff, right? But yeah, that's the only downside to those things. Yeah. And hey, you got a good outdoor cat? They'll catch some rabbits too. That's one of my cats. I have two good cats. That's one of my cats catching a rabbit. I actually saw him catch that one the other day. Okay, squirrels. Oh, squirrels. Here we get to the real stuff, because squirrels are the real battle, right? Squirrels and rats, I think, are the real battle. Okay, so just a quick story. I've lived at my place for 11 years now, and it's got this big rock with a big crack in it. That thing's giant. It's probably, I don't know, 12 feet tall or something. And when we first moved in, it was filled, that crack was filled with oranges. And I was like, what the heck? Why? I soon found out that that was the squirrels' storage area, the squirrels' warehouse because that's what squirrels do, right? Squirrels don't go and take one piece of fruit. They strip the whole tree in one night and they try to store it all somewhere. And that's why if you want your fruit, you really got to deal with. Otherwise, you're just giving it to the squirrels. Yeah, how do you deal with them? First, it's kind of good to know which kind you're dealing with. There are basically two kinds. There's some that live up in the trees and some that live on the ground. I think if you live in a more rural area, you're probably dealing with ground squirrels. That's what I have. If you're living in an area like this, you probably have more tree squirrels, but you might have both. Does anyone have both? Yeah, the tree squirrel. So the gray squirrel. I'm sorry. The ground squirrel is the California gray squirrel. It's a native squirrel, and this fluffy, bushy, red-tailed one that's kind of cuter, prettier. It's from the East Coast. It's an invasive species, not native to here, which kind of makes sense. That's why maybe it lives up in the trees, but it'll come down to the ground. But it generally, if you scare it, it'll run up in a tree. Whereas a ground squirrel, if you scare it, it'll go into its burrow. Yes, sir. Oh, and it just freaks them out. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Yeah. I wonder, is anyone else thinking this? Squirrels are smart, and if they're hungry, that might only last a season or a week until they're like, I don't care if I get wet. I want those macadamia, or that avocado's mine. But that's interesting. At least it works for a little while. That's good. Um, uh, Bags and nets and like little plastic containers and stuff. I find that it doesn't cut it for squirrels. They'll chew right through it. Now you can use metal, some kind of metal container that'll probably do the job, but plastic, I don't think will do the job. This is what I use. I wish I didn't have to kill them, but for me, it's come to, if I want my fruit, I gotta kill the squirrels, and this is how I kill them. It's a trap called Squirrelinator. It's just, you put a little bait in there. I usually use cat food or some nuts, just in the middle, and it's just a trap where they go in to get that bait and then they can't get out. And yes, sir. Yeah, cool. Did you guys hear that? So yeah, they don't hear anything. Yeah. So tell me if I got this right. You use a little plastic bottle and you put vinegar in it, a napkin and vinegar. Yeah. Yeah. And the top is open so that it smells, so the odor comes out. Okay. So it's yeah, I see. Yeah. And the idea is the squirrels don't like the smell and they stay away from the fruit on the tree. Huh. Cool. Yeah, Don. And they seem to be attracted to different food at different times of the year as well. They seem to yeah. Yeah, Beth. Yeah. Yeah, good question. What do you do after you have them in the trap? Yeah. You can oh, I'm trying to remember. So they're fish and wildlife, or what are they called? I don't know, the old Fish and Game. There are laws about what you can do or what you have to do when you have a trapped gopher. What you're not allowed, not a gopher, squirrel. What you're not allowed to do legally is move it, go take it to the field and let it out in the field, take it to your neighbor's yard and let it go there. You're not allowed to move it. You're supposed to kill it in a humane way. You used to be able to drown it. That's apparently not humane anymore. You can shoot it with a pellet gun. If that's allowed where you live, right? Yeah. You can shoot it if that's allowed where you're at. And there are apparently some kinds of gas chambers that you can use for them. Yeah, I've never tried it. I've only read about it, but that's apparently allowed. Yeah. I'll tell you what though, the truth is what ground squirrels, this is for ground squirrels mostly. They're active during the heat of the day in the middle of summer. It's like 90 degrees. They spend like 15 minutes trapped in that cage in the sun and they die of heat exhaustion. And so if you don't find them really quickly, you're just going to find a carcass already. They die pretty fast if they get caught in the middle of a summer day. Yeah, good question. The question is, can you accidentally trap other things? Yeah, I've trapped skunks a couple times, and that's a hassle. You got to get the skunk out without getting sprayed. And I've done it, but and I've never gotten sprayed, but my daughter got sprayed. And so yeah, skunks can get in there. Skunks are small enough to get in there. Yes, I've caught possums in there too. That's right. Young possums can get in there as well. Yeah, but they're easier to get out than skunks. Yes, sir. How do you wrap it though while they're in there? Yeah, okay. Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah. What I've had to do with skunks in this trap is you walk very slowly and you hold a big towel or sheet in front of you. And if you walk slowly enough, you can get right up to them and over them, and you put that sheet over them so that they can't see you. And then they start to calm down after a while. And then you can reach under the sheet and open the trap and let them out. But it's kind of scary. Oh, to let a skunk out? To let a skunk out, there are latches on the top. There's a door, a latched door on the top and then they'll just find it in a few seconds and they'll take off. Yeah. Yes. Gophers included? Whoa. That'd be tough. Wow. I mean, no, it's interesting. I mean, I don't want to kill anything. That's my approach is that it's all part of nature. I don't want to kill a squirrel. I don't want to kill a gopher. I don't want to kill anything. But sometimes it comes down to, if I want to eat the fruit that I'm growing, I have to protect it somehow. And if I can't protect it without building a gigantic cage over a half acre, then I might have to kill a few animals. The other thing to keep in mind is, let's say I'm trying to protect avocados and I have to kill some squirrels to get my own avocados. My alternative is I buy avocados from the farmer's market or the grocery store. Where do they come from? Farms where they're poison baiting every squirrel in the whole area. It's not as if, that squirrels are getting killed in order to get the fruit either way. So it's I don't know. It's the way it goes. Yes. So two scare devices for squirrels that have worked are a motion censored like sprinkler, right? And another one is a randomly activated kind of like a I don't know what they're called, like balloon man thing that wiggles around that you see at like car washes and stuff. Yeah. Yeah. I like that one. That's fun. Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Not good. For tree squirrels, um, these tube traps work well for a lot of people that I've talked to. There are different kinds of tube traps. Um, but where's Charles? Charles is going to add a few. Anyway, if you'd like some more information on different kinds of traps that work well for tree squirrels, Charles has some ideas. Sorry. So the WCS tube trap is I think that's what that is right there. Okay. So the two traps you mentioned besides this one are Cania, Kania 2000, and Good Nature. It starts with an A, the model. A18 is the model from Good Nature. All right. Oops. I think I went. All right, birds. Am I? Oh. Nets. Yeah. Nets work pretty well for birds, but they don't work so well for me. It's like, I mean, you can net your tree properly and keep the birds out if you net it properly, but then how do you yourself harvest the fruit? It's kind of a hassle. And then the ends of the branches start growing through the net. And if you don't get it off in time, and it's kind of hard to put the nets on, but they work. So you can net. Um, I sometimes these are on the right, the photo on the right are blueberry bushes. In the past I've occasionally put a net over our blueberry bushes when the birds have been getting too many, which doesn't really happen anymore because our cats have learned to take naps under the blueberry bushes and then catch any feathered flyers that try to get a blueberry. Yes. Yeah. The question is how do we have cats if there are coyotes? I I I don't know for sure, but I think our cats are super smart. The reason I say that is they come from they're feral cats that come from a feral mother and father in the neighborhood, and they've been around for both of those parents have been around for years, and our two cats. We actually started with three. We did lose one when it was young, but the others have been around for 2.5, 3 years now. They're just smart. We also give them places to hide at night from coyotes. They have a cat door into our garage. They also our neighbor built a little like cat refuge box up in his oak tree that coyotes can't get into and they can get into. But I think the bottom line is they they sort of they're practically wild cats that grew up around there and they're just smart cats. So I think you have to have the right genes. You can bag your fruit to keep birds off. It does a decent job. You can bag grapes there. Those are peaches. I think it does a pretty good job to protect from birds. And then, I've found that at least lately, I've just become less inclined to bag so much for the birds and just like share some. Just like let my trees get a little bigger, let the birds get some, I get some, less work for me, whatever. if a bird pecks half a pluot, I'll eat the other half. If a bird pecks one of the cherries, hey, there's a couple other good ones next to it. Yeah, I don't know that I've started to get more and more like that lately. As I said, you can't do that with squirrels, but you can do that with birds because birds, I don't know, they're not going to steal every single fruit in one night. And yeah, cats do a pretty good job on keeping the birds away from some things. They're not going to keep the birds away from your, cherries 10 feet off the ground, but from the blueberries, they do a good job. Okay, rats. I know you guys have rats. Okay, this is really going to irritate you, but I don't have rats because those cats, I'm telling you, I used to have rats and I used to have mice. In fact, I've got chickens and I have a lot of like grains to feed my chickens. And I used to get so many mice in my barn and that kind of thing. And now I can leave a bowl of grain on the counter for a month and it doesn't get touched because those cats own the place. They eat every rat or mouse like the day it walks into the yard. It's unbelievable. Yeah. Yeah, good question. How do you obtain a feral cat? Well, there are organizations that try to rehome feral cats, and we actually tried that a few years ago. They'll take a feral cat and they'll give it to you. You keep it at your place in a cage for a while, and then you eventually let it out and hope it stays. That didn't work out for us. They just took off once we waited it was like 6 weeks or something like that. Then we opened up the cage and they're just like, bing, out of here. Never came back. So I think you got to kind of, you got to start, if you have a feral cat around, just start feeding it and make it at home, but don't feed it too much. So it's still hungry for the rats and mice. I don't know. Yes, Charles. Yeah, I talked to my neighbor is what I did. I said, hey, we want some cats. I'm sick of trapping these rats and mice. And my neighbor said, the feral cat, the mother of our cats, my neighbor calls that cat Christine, which is, I don't know why. But Christine is about to have a litter under my house. I'll give you some of the kittens. Perfect. And those are the cats we have today. Anyway, if you don't have cats, you got a trap, which, I mean, the traps, traps work. Just the classic Victorinox and such. They work, but they're a lot of work. It's a hassle, but you can trap quite a few rats. And you can use bags or cages as long as they're made of metal. A friend of mine has made these he's got a clamp that you can squeeze to open to get it around the fruit, and then it clamps down around the fruit. It's sort of like, I don't know what you call these, but it's sort of like two big tea strainers that clamp shut, and it's a metal mesh, and that's what he uses to protect all his citrus because he's got rats galore. Yeah. Yeah. Otherwise, it's cats. I don't know of any other solutions. Of course, you can poison them, rats, but yeah, but I don't do that because, yeah, exactly. I don't poison gophers or squirrels or rats or anything just because, you're going to have someone trying to eat that poisoned animal possibly. And then what's the residual? Yeah. The question is, do I have a favorite trap? No, like I've used the sticky ones and I've used the snap ones, and they all work, but I don't have one that's like the easiest best for me. They all work. Me here. Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah. I'm gonna repeat what he said, and then it reminds me of something that I remembered working well with mine. So he said the trap that's worked best for him are the simple classic Victor. Did I say Victorinox? What? That's a knife, right? uh, the Victor, just wood base with a metal snap top. And the key is he uses almonds for the bait, and he scrapes the almonds with a screw to let the aroma of the almond come out. And maybe the rats also think that some competitor rat has chewed it or something. That reminds me, I was getting good success. I was using cashews, but I would break them right before setting them down, and I would only put a pretty small piece, and they're a soft nut, so I would kind of squish it a little bit onto that little pointy part, onto the little thing, and that seemed to work well. Maybe it was the odor from breaking the nut, or I don't know, but anyway. Okay. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, right. Yeah. 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 Raw or roasted. The consensus seems to be raw. Raw is better. Don't roast your nuts. Oh, where do I put them? Oh, well, I used to put them up against the side of a wall. So on the floor against a wall, like parallel to the wall, not perpendicular to the wall. That's how I used to place them. Think like a rat. Think like a mouse, right? Like, yeah. No, one thing cool about dealing with pests is learning about them, their way of thinking, their diet, their habitat, and all this, and it's fun. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if fun's the right word, but okay. Some little pests now, some insects and stuff. Aphids and scales. You get a lot of these on the new flush. You got to, well, this is scale. So this is scale on citrus. My favorite thing to do, first of all, I let a little scale just go, no big deal. But if it builds up so much that it's starting to annoy me, and there's so many ants farming the scale, and there's scale on the rind of the fruit and that kind of thing, okay, what I'm gonna do is blast them off with water. It's the best pesticide ever. You get a hard jet of water. You can even use a pressure washer if you have one. You're not going to damage the tree. It's amazing how much that the leaves and the branches can take, but you can literally just strip all the scale off and just wash it right off. I did this just a couple days ago. I found some scale on one of my mandarin trees and took these photos just for you. So you see the scale on the upper left branch, and then I just used a hard jet of water and stripped almost all of them off. You don't have to get it totally clean, but you get a lot of them off, and then all of a sudden, like they just don't come back for quite a while. You won't see the population build up again for at least a couple months. It works pretty well. Yeah. Yeah. The question is, when the scale turns hard later in the season, will the water still blast it off? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Usually it will rub off pretty easily, or with your fingernail. And I- I've never had trouble blasting it off with water, so my guess is that it'll still come off pretty easily. Yeah, but yeah, I haven't noticed it not coming off easily at different times of year. And what I love about this is, yeah, you go out on a day like today, a warm day, you're gonna get a little bit wet. That's the truth. You're gonna get a little bit wet. So enjoy it. You're watering your tree a little bit, cool, and you're not hurting anybody but the scale. So pretty low no trade-off. Yes, small seedling trees. Yeah, yeah. You might if they're super small, you might just rub them off with your finger. Yeah, because that works just as well. I mean, it's does a soap and water spray kill scale? I'm not sure, actually. They're pretty well protected under their little shell though, so it might not. I don't know. If it was strong enough, it probably will, but I don't know. Yeah, the comment was about the relationship between ants and scale and aphids, and if you can control the ants, prevent them from getting up into the tree, it makes a huge difference. That's very true. And you can use tanglefoot, you can use duct tape, um, you can use both. Right. Yeah, but you wrap with yeah. Yeah, I've given up using tanglefoot because it's just such nasty, messy stuff. But it works. It does work. Yes. Oh, really? So she said you use a Q-tip with dip it in rubbing alcohol, and then you just basically like touch the scale. You just run it along the scale and they essentially melt off. Yeah, cool. Okay. And no damage to the tree, right? Yeah. Yeah, that might be a good solution for little seedlings. Yeah. Cool. The rubbing alcohol? Yeah, I wonder if you could also, yeah, spray it. Yeah, so the question is just like, okay, Tanglefoot works, but how to make it work? It's so messy, and also what I've found is it's so annoying when you don't have a perfectly round circumference of a trunk to work with. The ants will find a little path under your, batting or whatever. So so you've got to do something like with some cotton batting or something, and then tape around that cotton batting to sort of get like a snug barrier around the bark, around the circumference of the trunk, and then you put the tanglefoot on top of that tape. And then the ants can't go under it; they have to go over it, and they get stuck. And eventually they do just build a bridge of dead ants over your tanglefoot, but it worked for a little while. So, I mean, yeah, I don't know. I'm sorry, but I just find there's the ants are another one. Like ants are probably there's no great solution for Argentine ants. I mean, there are ways to deal with them, but they're not uh they're not cheap in terms of time and effort. It's just they're a hassle. Yeah, Ty, you have the solution for ants? Okay, I'm gonna do a quick summary of that. I'm familiar with that, luckily, so I don't have to try to remember every word you just said. But yeah, I think his name is Ivan, the guy at UCR who's been studying, along with Mark Hoddle and a few others. They're making these little hydrogel beads that have, of course, like a sugar to attract the ants, but then a boric acid poison as well at a really low level. And they just they sprinkle like kind of like snow drops, or sprinkle these beads around where they find especially high traffic along the irrigation lines of the ants. And it's great in a number of ways. It's really it degrades. It's biodegradable. It's very cheap. You don't have to refill bait stations and all of that. And so it seems to be really effective. The problem still is it's all DIY. No one is making it. And I don't know when someone's going to start making this product to buy. Because I don't want to spend the time to make it if I don't have to. Me here. Yeah, who? Where? Yeah. Right. I'm familiar with those. Yes. The taro bait stations. Those, yes, it's a boric acid based poison. Yeah, and it works well. It does work really well. That's true. Yeah. It is kind of expensive and it doesn't last very long. They're just little plastic vials, and the ants will go through it really fast if you have many ants. But okay. Yeah, but it does work. I have had good results with those. Yeah. He said that he puts his solution like 3-to-1 like sugar water to borax, a solvent, and he uses croutons in a bowl with that solution, and the ants apparently that's gourmet ant poison. Oh, okay, because it soaks it up. Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah. All right. I I just, I get a lot of I'm sure you get this sometimes too on your plums or pluots or something on the fast growing terminal leaves. They'll get all curled up from aphids. I find that since that's where they're always at, if it gets too heavy, sometimes I just pinch the terminals off and then the branch will sort of pause growing for a little while, but then it'll have another flush in a couple weeks, and there are usually few aphids on that next flush. It just kind of knocks down the population for a little while. It doesn't solve the problem. It doesn't get rid of your aphids, but maybe it makes your tree look a little better sometimes. What about it? For aphids? Yeah. I've I don't know if neem oil would work on this type of situation where the aphids are entirely protected under a curled leaf. I think I think you'd have trouble getting it properly applied to get to the aphids. That's my guess, but I haven't tried it on a tree like this. Yeah. Yeah. Oh gosh. You are so smart. Yeah, so there are lots of different predators of aphids and scales and all the other little sap suckers. Ladybug larvae and lacewings and hoverfly larvae, they all feed on aphids, and so and similar little insect pests. And so if you can, well, first try to learn what they look like, because they look evil, but they're actually good guys, right? And then try to feed them, keep them around as much as possible, which just basically means grow flowers. So I try to grow some flowers around my fruit trees as well. Snails. I don't know about you guys, but the last 2 winters have been exceptionally snaily and sluggy. Ooh. I mean, I appreciate all the rain, but man, I don't appreciate all the snails. So my solution, what I do, I try not to worry about it on certain trees because they don't really do much damage, but I have had a couple citrus trees where they just attacked the little trees, just attacked and eat so many holes in the leaves and everything that I felt like I gotta protect this little tree. If you just go out at night when the snails are all feeding with a headlamp, plastic, well, you can do it a couple ways. You pick the snails off, you throw them into your neighbor's yard, or you smash them on the ground, or you just put them in a little plastic bag as you go along, and then you do whatever with that plastic bag. You do that a couple nights in a row, and you can make a pretty big dent on the snail population in that little area for a little while. It works pretty well. You're not going to eradicate the snails, that's for sure, but you're going to really reduce the damage on that individual tree or plant. Yes. Yeah, the comment was about copper. Yeah, you can put copper bands around the trunk of your tree, and the snails don't like to cross the copper. You have to remember to not have any branches touching the ground elsewhere, and so you can't have other roots to get up the tree. And it has to be, I can't remember the rule of thumb on how wide the copper band needs to be, but it can't be a 1-inch strip. It has to be a little bit broader, but okay. Oh, okay, that's a good idea. Yeah, so okay. That's smart. He uses basically a spiral of a couple strips of copper band. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. The decollet. The decollet snails are, yeah, so the comment is about decollet snails that prey on the brown garden snails. She says they've done wonders in her yard. I've got both in my yard. And I've got decollet snails and I've got a lot of brown garden snails still. So I don't know why, but they seem to get along. Yeah, possums apparently eat, I've heard, I've never seen it, but apparently possums eat snails. So that's good. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Snails like beer. That's right. Yeah, yeah. So you can put a little bowl of beer, hopefully the cheapest, just get the cheapest junk beer. Which kind? Oh, expired beer. Okay. Even better. Yeah. They're apparently attracted to the smell or something. DE, diatomaceous earth. Yeah. Um, Sprinkle a little bit around the tree and does that, have you tried it? Does it work well? Yeah. Okay. So diatomaceous earth, will keep them. Yeah. Okay. Um, I imagine you have to reapply occasionally. Okay. They use diatomaceous earth. Oh, okay. So, but yeah, so you can buy diatomaceous earth at aquarium stores, fish stores, as well as Home Depot, all the kind of home improvement places. Yeah. Oh, okay. So, yeah, okay, cool. So if you have a potted plant, put a layer of perlite over the top, and snails do not like to crawl over that layer of perlite. It cuts them. Okay. Kind of like diatomaceous earth kind of thing. Oh, interesting. Okay. Very cool. Thanks. Does anyone use Sluggo? I've never used it, but I hear it works pretty well. Dawn, have you used Sluggo? Uh-huh. Yeah, I think Earwigs is my next buddy. Yeah, so Sluggo Plus will apparently kill both slugs, snails, and earwigs. Um, I generally just use a little if I have to. You can use a little tuna can or can of cat food and put just some cheap oil in there, and you'll catch a whole lot of them. It's sort of like the bowl of beer for snails. Same thing for earwigs. What type of oil? I've used different kinds and they all seem to work. Uh, um, I just try to get the cheapest junk GMO canola oil kind of thing, just because it's just trash, you know? Yeah. I have heard people say that you want to use like a more aromatic oil, this kind of thing, and I I don't think it's necessary. Yeah, unless you got fancy earwigs. I don't have fancy earwigs, so um you guys get June beetles eating your like little tree leaves. That's kind of irritating. I, I just I just go out at night with a headlamp and a little cup, and you just put the cup under, and you just sometimes you just need to put your finger near the beetle and it'll just drop right into your cup. Or sometimes you just give the leaf a little tap and it'll just drop right into your cup. And I mean, I only do this on little trees because it's not a worry on a big tree, but on a little tree, you do that a couple nights in a row, and you can really um, you can get a lot of beetles and kind of save the leaves on that little tree. And the big crazy flyers, the um the green fruit beetles. Okay, I luckily don't have many of these, but I know some people who have a lot, and they swear by this kind of trap. You just have a plastic container with some kind of entrance hole at the top. You hang it in a tree. You put a little um apple cider vinegar and a piece of fruit or two in there that's kind of old and really ripe. And apparently it's a great draw to these things. They'll fly in the entrance hole at the top of the container and they can't get out. They can't figure out how to get out. Oh, is that okay? Oh, okay, interesting. So Don's comment was that what these beetles do is when they've found a piece of fruit, they send out the signal to all their fellow beetles to come eat with me. And so that works against them sometimes. Yeah. Yeah, yep. You just hang the bottle in the tree. And I try to use my chickens to kind of minimize the grub stage of these types of these beetles by just letting them scratch under the trees somewhat frequently, especially in the winter time, and they can eat a lot of them. Okay. Do my feral cats bother the chickens? You know, we've lost a couple of chicks to the cats, unfortunately. Yeah. But they don't mess with the big birds. Yes. Grasshoppers. No, this is the end of my list. I wasn't going to talk about grasshoppers, but yeah. Um I don't have I have grasshoppers around and they just don't do, so I just kind of like, sometimes I catch them and go give them to the chickens just for fun or something, but otherwise, yeah, I don't have a problem. Do they do a lot of damage at your place? Okay. Watch this, Jeff. Done. Thanks, guys. That's
All right.
all I have.
Awesome, Greg. Thank you so much. And you very elegantly handled it. Many more questions and comments than I think we've ever had during a talk. So and restating what everybody said, that was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I have only my experience, and we have, gosh, a whole lot of collective experience, and I got a lot of good ideas from you guys too. So thank you.